2022 was the year of EDHTakes.
Welcome, listeners. It is a new year.
Yeah, technically.
So happy New Year. We're recording this on January 15th. We're excited. We're going to play our first, for me, it's my first night of Commander this year. You've played a little bit so far.
Yeah, I can't believe you haven't played Commander in a whole year, Eli.
Yeah, it's been a whole year.
Yeah, but looking forward to that. But before that, we're going to talk about some Magic the Gathering cards and people.
Yeah, and I'm Elijah Samuelson.
I'm Spencer Cook.
And yeah, today we're gonna break the pattern, the cycle of hatred.
Yeah.
And we thought, new year, new us for this episode.
Yeah.
Maybe close to the whole episode. We'll see. So our topic today is that we're gonna try to be nice to some people that we're a little bit rude to. Some we're a bit mean,
critical. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gonna be a little bit more caring, more giving, and throw out some compliments.
Yeah, because the idea of the show is that nobody knows everything, but everybody knows something. Even sometimes people you mostly disagree with. Well, broken clock's twice right a day.
Yeah, sure.
Or is right twice a day.
See, that's kind of ironic, right? Isn't it? No, but so like you were saying, Eli, like, you know, we're critical of people, and that's the point. Like, the point of the show is to give disagreements and stuff like that. But you know, we can give people their flowers sometimes and be a little nice. So that's probably what we're gonna do. Talk about some of the content creators that we've been critical of in the past, and go over some times that they were, you know, on the money in our opinion.
Yeah, mostly the things we're going to talk about are mostly somewhat recent things, but yeah, I mean, so I've always enjoyed listening to other Commander content, and we do a lot. Obviously, like, this show, you can probably tell it's kind of a meta thing. Like, it's mostly about other content.
Yeah.
So you can't do something like that if you just absolutely hate every moment of it. Like, sometimes we'll watch something and be like, oh my god, I think this is so dumb, but there's some love in there. Yeah,
it's not like you hate the totality of or hate's a strong word, you know what I mean, though. We don't, like, dislike or disagree with the totality of something just because I can go to you, Eli, and be like, oh my god, this was a take I disagree with, right? Like, I wouldn't listen to the shows that I listen to if I didn't like them at all, right?
Yeah, if we thought it had absolutely no value and we just continue to listen to it just to hate watch it, that would be that's really dumb. Don't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that also, like, sometimes you might have people that you like listen to, like, mostly just to dunk on, and I think that's something that you kind of have to realize in the content creation sphere is it's more than likely if you're putting out content, you do it long enough, that you're somebody's lol cow.
Yeah, like somebody is going to be watching you just because they find you funny or dumb or something. And like you were telling me earlier, Eli, like, that's kind of the interesting thing about that is you're bringing more joy into the world, even if it's at your own expense.
Yeah, even if somebody's laughing at you, they're still laughing. So
not the worst. It could be worse.
Yeah, so as long as you're that kind of person who goes to a lol cow, as long as you don't, like, tell that person, or, like, if you don't verbally accost them or, like, tell them, like, oh, you're super dumb, or, like, I find you so cringe, like, just keep that to yourself and just have it be a little thing.
And even people, like, just we're talking way too much about this meta stuff, but, like, you know, even people that in the Magic community that I maybe don't agree with or dislike a little bit, you know, I can, and even if I watch some of their videos because I think I'm going to disagree with them, like, I can still get enjoyment from them, and, you know, they're, like, it's not all that serious, you know. I can like dislike someone a little bit and be like, you know what, they're not a bad person. I really don't actually dislike them. It's kind of just like a thing, you know.
Yeah, and the people and content that we really, like, actually don't like, we just don't watch that stuff. Because if you really dislike someone or you really want them to go away, like the best thing you can do is just nothing, just don't engage.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fact that we engage with these people means that we like them and we want to have them keep doing their stuff.
Yeah. We just want them to be better, you know? But, so, why don't you say, Eli, we get into our first, I was about to say critique, but it's the opposite of that. Our first,
Our first take we dig.
Yeah, sure.
So this one, I remember, I felt like it was more recent than it was. This was actually a Dies to Removal podcast that came out last November. I remember it was one of the last nice days we had around here. If you guys don't know, we're in Fargo, North Dakota, so it's really shitty weather right now. But we had some nice days up through November, and I was going for a walk and listening to some Dies to Removal podcast because I like to do that.
Yeah.
And I was listening to the professor talk about their episode subject was, is Commander better or worse than it was 5 years ago? And him and Pleasant Kenobi are talking about Commander, and the professor says something that just, it like blew my mind. It was like, this is actually like an amazing take that you just don't hear very often. But what he said was, Commander is a broken format, and pretty much we all just pretend that it's okay. Like, terrible things happen, and, like, it's incredibly unbalanced, and everyone just has to laugh about it and be like, oh, that's great, that's fun.
Yeah.
And really, like, I think that's totally true.
There's a lot of truth to that statement, because even the stuff that's, like, against the social contract, like, he mentioned, like, oh, if you get Armageddon, like, you're gonna, like, it's gonna be better overall for you and for the table if you laugh about it than if you, like, make it a big problem, right? So I think that's kind of something that he was alluding to a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's totally true, that the attitude that the players have and put into the game kind of shapes the overall, like, experience of the game and how you remember your games.
It kind of feels like that's by design to some extent, right?
Yeah, one thing that the professor said in this podcast that I think is really true is along the lines of it being a broken format and we pretend that it's not. He compared it to, like, an illusion creature in Magic. You know, the ones where if you target them, they get sacrificed.
He did. I remember that joke,
it's as though as soon as you acknowledge, hey, something's going on, this is wrong, this is bad,
yeah,
Commander ceases to be a fun and functional feeling format.
And, I think there's a little bit of truth to that. And like how I was saying, it seems like it's by design. I don't think it has to be that way. Like, the thing with Commander that makes it so complicated is that so many different types of players enjoy it for so many different reasons. So, I guess what I'm getting at is, there are some people who would be much happier with Commander if it was more aggressively balanced to make it so it wasn't a broken format. And, maybe I might even say that would make me happier, but it's not really possible at this point in time. It's not really going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's kind of two main camps. There's the people, like you're saying, that think it should be more aggressively balanced, and then there's people who know that it's kind of broken, but that's sort of what they love about it.
What they like about it, yeah.
Like, Shivam Bhatt of the Commander Advisory Group, I know he loves that about Commander, and I think even the professor is a big fan of that. Because,
the thing is, like, there's no doubt in my mind that the game would be more balanced, and I don't want to say more fun, but it'd be more balanced, and there'd be less crazy starts and stuff if cards like Soul Ring and Mana Crypt were not allowed in the format. Like, that just seems like it would make sense, right?
Yeah.
But like you were saying, Eli, that's not necessarily what people like about it. They don't like the format because it's balanced. They like it because it has the crazy things. At least some people do, right?
Yeah, it's wacky and weird, and
so there's kind of like two sides to that. So I'm not, it's an interesting topic.
Some people would be like, "Wow, you played a 6-mana spell on turn 1? That's epic."
And some people would be like, "Wow, that's not very fun." So it depends on the situation, of course, right?
Yeah, what was it? One game, Spencer, I played a turn 1 Mountain, Mana Crypt, Jessica's Will into 6-mana Ugin.
Yeah, that was not very fun, I don't think. But it was also kind of a story, right? So you got a little bit to it. Well, do you have anything else to say about the kind of the professor topic there? We gave him some credit.
Yeah, Pleasant Kenobi was there too.
He was there.
Yeah.
And they had a conversation about it.
That's all we're going to say about that.
Okay, well, our next topic that I want to mention is we've been very critical of EDHREC in the past, specifically the website and also the podcast with Joey, Dana, and Matt. And one thing that I think I want to give them some props for is they've, as of late, been acknowledging more of the shortcomings of the data on EDHREC and not doing as much of the, oh, it's only in this many decks, and that's why it's good or bad. I remember even recently I was very happy when they were talking about some of the most popular commanders of the year and stuff like that, and they were acknowledging the fact that there were actually decks on their website that were just the precons, like ripped straight from like the list someone put it online. They acknowledged it, and that made me very happy.
Yeah, they'll acknowledge the precon effect sometimes,
which is nice.
Yeah, that's good to see.
So good job, guys.
So yeah, good on them for that. Occasionally, like that's always kind of been a thing that they would allude to, but they still sometimes fall into some of the fallacies with it and the untruths. But aside from them acknowledging the pitfalls of EDHREC, I just wanted to give a special shout out to our boy, Matt Morgan, for being like a normal human being most of the time.
Especially on Twitter.
Yeah, and like having another life outside of Magic. That's not... A lot of people on Magic Twitter, obviously they have lives outside of Magic. But every time there's a big discourse coming up or something's getting really heated, you don't often see Matt Morgan sticking his foot in his mouth.
You don't see Matt in the trenches.
Yeah, he seems to get out. I think the only thing I can remember was the time that he jumped into Bully Magical Hacker.
Yeah.
And broke Magical Hacker's heart, betrayed his trust.
But no.
That wasn't that cool for somebody so big to dunk on Magical Hacker, but we all have a little bit of that in us.
Yeah,
we all have the potential to bully Magical Hackers.
Come on. Okay.
Sometimes you can't help it. Not to victim blame, but sometimes he's asking for a little bit.
Sometimes he's being a little bit provocative, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Not on purpose, I don't think. I don't think he's trying to be, but...
Okay, so our next topic, just moving on a little quicker, is MTG Goldfish. We like to bully those guys a bit sometimes for their takes and whatnot. I think this well, we also have to bully them because they stole the tier list concept from us. We invented that.
We invented tier lists.
We invented tier lists at the beginning of this year, and they started doing them right after us. They took it from us.
Yeah, we specifically invented Commander tier lists.
Exactly.
And for another content creator to so blatantly
rip us
steal
off.
our intellectual property,
yeah,
that's not cool. But we're here to be nice, so you know what?
We'll
let them have it.
Yeah, I'll forgive that. I won't renew my patent. It's fine.
In the spirit of giving and the new year, we'll let bygones be bygones.
But speaking of the tier list, we want to talk about how they did their top 10 cards of this year, 2020. Well, I guess last year, 2021. And we felt that for some of the cards, they were very weird inclusions, and we felt like one person in particular kind of had the right idea for each of the cards.
We had many disagreements with the cards on their list, but the thing I love about the MTG Goldfish Commander Clash podcast is that there's always somebody who disagrees. It's very rare that they're in complete agreement on something, and so we thought it would be nice to highlight one take that we thought each of them had the right idea about.
Yeah, so the nice thing about all of these is that for the most part, they all have a chance to be right sometimes.
Exactly.
In our perspective.
And I think that's what we were talking about earlier, Spencer, what our favorite EDH content might be right now. And I think the Commander Clash podcast is becoming my favorite show.
Well, I've been really liking all of their discussions about. I mean, I'm a sucker for tier lists, so I like whenever they rate the cards, because it's not only is it kind of like tantalizing. It's like, ooh, I wonder how that compares to me. But I also get to I get to message you on Discord and be like, man, these guys are so stupid. Look where they put this card, and not like against them, but it's just fun. It's fun to compare your own opinions.
Well, yeah, but just as commonly as we will complain about stuff that other people say, 'cause we do a lot of complaining.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Goldfish podcast is there will be just as many times where we'll be like, wow, this person was being based.
Yeah, like
they're being gigabrain.
Yeah, like 3 of them will say something will be disagree, the other person's like has an opinion that I agree with, and I'm like, man, good on him, you know.
And it's not easy to disagree with 3 other people, even if they are your friends.
Yeah, that's true. I can back that up.
So big ups to the guys who have to die on their hills.
Yeah. So why don't we start with that? We'll start with Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive.
So here's a card that we both, I think, would agree would be on the top 10 list of like all cards for the year, right?
Yeah, we both do definitely agree with this.
They had Dothy Voidwalker on their list. I think it was kind of middle to low, though, right?
I think it was around 6 or something, or maybe it was 4. I don't remember. It was pretty high up, but it was top 10.
And I think Seth and maybe...
No, it was Seth was the only person.
Seth was the only S tier.
Seth was the only person to give it an S tier, and the other 3 were, I think, Bs or As. I think mostly Bs.
I believe it was Krim and Richard gave it a B.
Yeah, and Tomer an A maybe. But from our perspective, Eli, I'm speaking for both of us, but I think you agree. Dothy Voidwalker is like a very clear S. Like, it's not even close, right?
I could maybe see some kind of argument for it being an A on their criteria. But calling that card a B, I don't think you could put Dothy Voidwalker in a deck with black, and it would make it a worse deck.
It's probably not possible. Yeah, it's unless you put it in your deck and then you turn off your companion or something.
So I think worst case scenario, their B criteria is like it's good in some decks. What are those just specifically decks that want to shut off all graveyard hate and also cast a free spell?
It seems good to me, right?
Yeah, you don't want to do that in all decks. You don't want to cast a free awesome spell, like.
Yeah, not. And here, this isn't supposed to be us nitpicking their opinions. It's mostly like, good job, Seth. That's based. You're right on the money. That's kind of what we're trying to say here. Positive, not negative.
I think anyone who's ever played against a Dothy Voidwalker, I suppose the only situation where it's really bad is where somebody plays it and then somebody obviously like has to remove it right away. And that's an S tier card to me most of the time. A
card that has to, a 2-mana card that's like needs to be answered right away.
You literally like have to remove that.
Yeah, that seems good to me. Because like worst case, like someone plays like you shut off all the graveyard hate. Maybe someone plays like a Rampant Growth or something, and you just play your own Rampant Growth, right? It's fine. Whatever. Let's move on from that. Not spend too long on that, because we got all of the other 3 to talk about.
But I think our biggest confusion with the list was the inclusion of Ignoble Hierarch on the top 10 cards of 2021.
Yeah, and 3 of the 4 people gave that, like, I mean, it was like number 8 or something, and I was like, what? I think their argument was that it's like the best mana dork in those colors, maybe outside of like Birds of Paradise or something. And while that may be true, I don't think just like a vanilla mana dork is that impactful in that way.
And we like mana dorks.
Yeah.
More than probably the average Commander player, I feel like.
But I don't think like it adds much to like adding one more mana dork really adds a lot to the format, right? And it's only in Jund decks too, right?
You know how we did our top 10 Boros cards of the year? Now that was just red and white. I think every card on that list makes my top 10 all cards more than Ignoble Hierarch would.
I don't even know if Ignoble Hierarch would make my top 10 Jund cards list.
Maybe not. Like we said, it was an embarrassment of riches in 2021. So.
Yeah, maybe closer to the bottom, but not an all cards list. Not even close.
Yeah, so we just thought that was strange, but Krim, he also thought it was strange. So good on ya.
Yeah, Krim also gave that a lower rating like we thought. And something that I always rant about is if you're playing Mana Dorks, I think you want to play like a Mana Dork style deck, meaning you play like Beast Whisperer kind of Guardian Project effects, or like Craterhoof effects, or like I don't know, like Toski or Orin Frostfang. So you can get like value out of having dorks for like either attacking and drawing cards, or like playing them and drawing cards. But it seemed like the people who weren't Krim, like the other 3, were kind of in the position of like, no, you can kind of just play like Mana Dorks with no synergy, and like you play them like maybe half Mana Dorks, half like land ramp, And I don't really think that's the way to go, personally.
I think you could go that way, but I'm with you. Like, maybe it's better to do some stuff with it. Like, I guess my Kresh deck has some creature synergies off that, but that's just because it's...
Yeah, man. Like, if you're playing Mana Dorks, you probably want to get in a Guardian Project, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. So, because it just makes them... Because they're bad top decks. And when they draw a card, they're not bad top decks.
Yeah, you're a green deck, so I think you inherently care about creatures at least a little bit.
Yeah, for the most part.
Which actually, the creature thing, that brings us on to our next point.
Yeah.
On their list, I think very high, and I think 3 out of 4 of the guys had it S tier.
Yeah, this was like number 4 or something.
Toski, the squirrel.
And this just, like, kind of caught me off guard, because Toski, it doesn't even approach a top 10 list in my eyes. If I was, like, making a top 10 list of cards from last year, I wouldn't even consider it. It's not even close. Not saying it's a bad card, of course, but, like, I don't see what makes Toski an S tier auto-include in every green deck card at all.
I think what it is, and especially from Krim's position as being one of those people who really hates green and thinks that green is far too powerful, it's easy to see a card like Toski, which has can't be countered, indestructible, draws you a bunch of cards sometimes, and be like, wow, that's too many things, it's just too good.
But man, Toski really just doesn't do a whole lot or anything a lot of the time. Unless you're maybe like a deck especially built for it, but their definition of what an S tier card was like a staple in that color, like every green deck. So that's not even close to what Toski is.
I think Tomer gave it the B based on their criteria being good in some decks, and he said those being
token
creature
decks. Or maybe like a Jira deck with a bunch of trampling rhinos or something.
To which the counter argument is from the rest of the guys, well, you're playing green, so you're going to have creatures. Yeah, probably. But then the argument went further to, it's good even just on its own, just attacking by itself. At which point, yeah, I could see, I don't hate it if you draw 1 or 2 cards, maybe 3, because that's 4 mana, draw a couple cards. Maybe it blanks 1 attack the first turn you play it, because it's indestructible. But people have blockers, right?
Yeah, man. I've been one to play cards like that, like not Orin Frostfang, sorry, like the Viper that draws you a card when it hits someone but it has Death Touch, or Occam Adversary or something. These are creatures that when they hit someone you draw a card, but they have like Death Touch on both of them. And where Toski has Indestructible and it also gives you a card for each creature that hits someone, I mean, it's just trumped by everything. Like anything with 2 toughness it'll never get in.
Yeah, right? I feel like the lone Toski, unless you're playing that on turn 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah.
There's gonna be blockers.
I guess you can board wipe and then hit somebody, but like, man, I'm like, it's not a bad card. It's just not even close to where they had it. That's what I think.
Yeah, maybe not an S tier.
Yeah, B probably about right. Sure. Okay. Well, our last card from this list was Richard. Well, I guess he's the person, not the card, but. They were talking about the card Yavimaya, the green
Cradle of Growth.
Yeah, the green Urborg, and everyone except for Richard gave it an S tier, and then Richard, I believe, gave it a B or an A or something lower.
Yeah,
or maybe it was even lower than that, but I don't know. But Richard brought up some really good points about how like Yavimaya just like it's nowhere near as good as Urborg because you don't have the Cabal coffers. You've got like technically you have like the Nissa.
Yeah, no, wait, Sven. Richard asks, "What's your Cabal coffers?" To which Tomer says, "Nissa who shakes the world."
Yeah,
it's pretty much the same thing.
Obviously not the case. But yeah, it's Yavimaya's a fine card, but.
And it does give you some fixing, too. So, like, I think I play it in one deck just for a little extra fixing and some other stuff. I could see you've got, like, Eladamri, Lord of Leaves, gives your elves Forest Walk. That could be
a cool thing to do.
Card if you got Forest Walk stuff. Other synergies, maybe, like stuff to untap your forests. I know there's that one elf that does that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some stuff, but it's also fixing your opponents.
Yeah, it turns their fetch lands. They don't have to fetch with them if they have any colorless lands, those can tap for green mana. Any lands that don't tap for mana, like give me a good example, like a Dark Depths or something can now tap for mana. All that sort of stuff. Their Ancient Tomb, they can tap it without losing life. Like, there's downsides to these cards.
Yeah.
And it's not like a literal every green deck staple. Like, no, that's not even close.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So yeah, the top 10 Commander cards of 2021 from the Commander Clash crew. I liked that episode.
It was a very enjoyable episode. I would recommend it if you're curious.
Yeah, it's as much as sometimes somebody might say something and you're like, oh, like pulling at your hair. It's also then 5 minutes later they're saying something you totally agree. It's weird. It's such a mixed bag of opinions.
So it's very, very fun.
That's what I love about it. Maybe we should have a third or fourth person on more often.
Oh yeah, to give those kind of differing opinions might be a good idea.
Have more of a debate. But if we start debating, I'll just cry because I can't handle confrontation.
Based. Very alpha move right there.
Yeah.
Sigma move. Sigma move.
Yeah, don't mess with me. I'll cry.
Okay, well, what do you want to say? We move on to our next content creator that we want to give props to.
Yeah, I think this was the most recent episode of a show that we're going to talk about. It was two Command Zone episodes ago.
No, the most... Oh, sorry. You mean the most recent as in...
Yeah, like on our list.
On our list. Okay, my bad. Sorry. Yeah, 2 Command Zones ago.
We don't count that other episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Command Zone did a Dear Commander Design Team episode in which they address the Wizards of the Coast Commander Design Team, which I think includes... I know Gavin's on there usually.
Gavin's on there. Was it Melissa? Is she on there?
I think she might be. She's been on the Good Morning Magic show to talk to Gavin about Commander a lot, so I feel like...
I think they mentioned her as like a person that was going to try to give them insight into the Commander format and like talk to Commander players. I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, we don't know the inner workings of Wizards that well, and I also believe they change their design teams somewhat frequently.
Yeah.
Or they'll bring people on to work on stuff like they had last year. They had Sheldon work with them.
Yeah.
Or before last year on the Strixhaven decks.
Oh yeah, that was cool. But our point here is that they made this podcast episode kind of directed towards them as kind of an informal, hey, if you're looking for feedback, this is what we think, would be good to keep doing in the format and what not to keep doing, with designing cards to the format.
Yeah, because one thing that Josh mentions in this podcast is that your audience is good for giving you feedback or like telling you what things are wrong, but they rarely ever give any actionable like ideas.
They're really bad
changes.
at telling you how to fix it, but they can tell you what's wrong.
So they tried to very respectfully give some criticisms and ideas. And I think Jimmy and Josh they are very invested in Commander. Obviously, like Josh is running a big fucking company.
Yeah.
About Commander
with 10 plus employees.
It's their livelihood.
But so, and I think Eli, you and I, of course, are going to have our disagreements with Jimmy and Josh a lot of the time, right? Like we don't agree, we don't see eye to eye on everything. But I think for the most part, overall, it was a pretty positive episode, and I'm pretty pleased with what they said, with some caveats, of course, but we don't need to go into right now.
Yeah, and people might say a lot of the stuff they said might not be seen as very controversial or very insightful, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be said.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I mean, I'm not a big fan of people just saying the same old things, but this is, I think, a topic that people will complain about this stuff in episodes, but they're not, like, saying it to anyone. They're just kind of, like, shouting into the void. Dear Commander Design Team, and actually try to address, like, make a whole show out of it, rather than just, like, offhandedly mention stuff every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think that does some good.
Certainly. And so we want to give props to them for this because it was kind of interesting. They got a lot of mixed responses on this episode. There was a large port, like right away when it came out, everyone was like, yes, I loved this. I think even Tomer tweeted, like, when I was watching this episode, I kept saying vocally out loud, yes, this, or something like that. And that was part of the reaction to it. But then within the next couple days, the reaction especially on Reddit and Twitter, seemed to be, you guys are big fucking hypocrites, and you are doing, this is rich coming from you guys.
Yeah, so this is kind of this is a callback to our old segment of talking about Magic Twitter stuff, but no good deed goes unpunished on Magic Twitter.
Yeah.
So there were many people saying that Command Zone might bear some responsibility for the direction that Commander design has gone.
And then they were proceeding to say that it was very hypocritical or rich even of them to, say this is the problem with the format, don't do this, when they contributed to it. That's the argument, at least.
Yeah, because a lot of Command Zone's early content, and sometimes they will still, doing set reviews and stuff, say, oh, this card isn't very playable, or this is less viable, and we get on them for that sometimes, but I think them giving their opinions on what cards they think are better or what cards are worse doesn't mean that, sure, you're going to have listeners that listen to that and really take it to heart, but you don't have to play that way.
I feel like that's just their job description to do that, right?
Yeah, they're giving their opinions. They're not saying... Well, sometimes they do. Their phrasing is a little off.
Yeah, but I wouldn't hold that too far against them. Like, so one thing that they talked about a lot in that new Command Zone episode is that 2-mana rocks are like all the rage these days, and that's like all you can play pretty much. And like the 3-mana rocks, you just don't play them anymore because they're just not very efficient, right? Mm-hmm. And they were like, hey, Wizards, stop printing 2-mana rocks and print more better 3-mana rocks. And then people were mad at them because like, hey, you guys always said to play 2-mana rocks. How can you say this? And it's like, I think you can observe the format and say what is good about it, but also ask it to be different. I think that's fine. I don't see why you can't hold those same beliefs.
I think one big thing that people kept saying was, you guys are saying the format's too fast, but at the same time you say play at least 10 sources of ramp in your deck, which makes the game go faster. But at the same time, the Command Zone's deck building template recommends a certain amount of spot removal and several board wipes, and board wipes make the game
slow the game down
slower. So I feel like if they were really advocating for way faster games, they would just be like, no, you don't want to muck up your deck with board wipes.
You just want to combo faster.
You want more combo pieces, you want more tutors. And I feel like they've been kind of down on tutors lately, at least Josh, I think, plays fewer tutors.
Well, another thing that they complained about was that people would say like, oh, Command Zone, you guys, you up the power in your Game Nights decks. Your Game Nights decks are always way too powerful, so you're like kind of showcasing it, the format. You're pushing it to be more powerful because your Game Nights decks are like pushed. But the thing is, like, they a lot of times intentionally make their Game Nights decks weaker, or like they play like they don't play infinite combos on Game Nights like ever pretty much these days.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you can see that and see that not as them powering down for Game Nights.
Yeah, one thing Josh acknowledged on this episode was their most recent Game Nights where they did the special themes for the holiday episode where they
Blingmas.
Yeah, Blingmas. So one was like a secret layer deck, one was all
borderless. Yeah, showcase foil, whatever.
And he said even within that restricted pool, the game still ended pretty quickly. And he thought that was somewhat a result of them being mostly newer cards.
Yeah.
And also it was an example of how strong Commander can be even when you don't have access to some very powerful cards. But I think that's just... that was a weird game, so I don't know if I would take much out of that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to draw conclusions from one game, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Also, Jimmy and Josh were... something you almost never see them do, which was surprising to me, was they actually took to Twitter to defend themselves against the onslaught of people attacking them, which was very surprising because Jimmy and Josh aren't usually ones to argue with people. Well, Josh more, but Jimmy doesn't usually like defend himself publicly.
I think Jimmy's more common. I mean, we don't follow Jimmy, so. But Jimmy, like, if you ever look on Reddit threads and stuff, he's
in the comments.
Yeah, he'll go down and he'll argue with people. But Josh is. It is probably pretty rare for both of them. Josh doesn't tweet a lot, but Josh Lee Kwai, the thing you got to know about Josh, he does not suffer a fool.
Yeah. If you're being dumb, Josh will just like verbally smack you a little bit.
And he's not rude, he's not mean, he'll check you.
Yeah. He'll be like he'll like that one time when Murph, remember that when Murph was like there's no
Dimir Artifacts Commander.
And then Josh responded like
you literally voice act one.
On a Game Nights episode. It's not rude. It's just a little bit of a like you said, a little check. So yeah, that was interesting to see them. But even and then after that, they killed Josh. The newest Game Nights episode is only
the newest Command Zone.
Sorry, Command Zone. Jimmy's alone on it. They killed Josh.
They took him out.
Yeah, remember that?
They did a kill order.
Remember that skit they did for the Crimson Vow?
Oh yeah, they killed him off.
They killed him off then, and I think Twitter did that this time.
He didn't regenerate this time.
Yeah. What? Shoot.
Yeah.
But yeah, props to the Command Zone. I think that was a pretty good episode that got a bad rap.
Well, some of the things they were saying, I think a lot of people would agree with, like treasures being stronger than they thought they might be, and cards that produce or cheat mana while also providing card advantage being toxic as hell. That's something I've always believed. Like, that annoys the crap out of me. Like, Bolas' Citadel is a busto magic card.
Yeah, when it's played against you.
We were talking about the maybe the idea earlier of maybe Commander could be fixed by banning a bunch of extra cards. I think that would be on my large ban list.
If you had like 100 cards, like that might be.
If I had to fill 100 more cards to ban in Commander.
Sure, I feel you there. Do you want to talk a little bit about that episode while we're at it? Just about some of the disagreements, because we're positive guys today. We can't be all positive.
Yeah, we gotta break here. We talked about Magic Twitter, and now
we're back to being
corrupted again.
Yeah. Well, one thing about that Command Zone episode that I specifically, and this is not just Command Zone, this is other podcasts as well, is there's a big fascination with Bergie. About like Berkey, I think, was on the top 10 goldfish list.
Yeah, this is something we noticed. What's the deal with Bergie?
Oh man, I think they also said on the Command Zone episode that like Bergie is like. Did they say that was like a fun way to do it? I don't quite remember.
Josh was including that with cards like Bolas' Citadel that produce mana and also get you cards.
Oh, and then Jimmy said that the dethrone guy
Treasonous
Ogre was a good way to do it, which is not true.
This is a fair balance magic card. Free life, that's so much of a cost.
Treasonous Ogre is a busto magic card. I'll tell you that. Okay. No, but about Bergie, it's like. They were considering it this card that both draws you cards, makes card advantage, and draws card advantage and makes mana. Sorry, and that's just not what it does. It does one or the other.
It literally cannot do both at the same time.
You have to cast each side differently for when you need it. So it's not. I don't think it's even close to comparable to, the other effects that do that. Like, what's a good example? I mean, it's not like
Urza.
Sure, like Urza. How it? Oh no. Another example, it's not like as like pushed in like making mana and stuff, but like Prosper Tomebound, gives card advantage and makes mana, right? Like they do the new Dimir legend from Kamigawa, that's Dynasty or whatever.
Oh, that thing, creature.
Yeah, it's the ninjutsu guy. He cheats mana and he draws you a card. So it's
I'm gonna write a little letter here to the Wizards design team, the Commander design team, for whatever, and Commander and Standard sets for designing legendary creatures. Could you make a ninja Commander that cares at all about ninjas?
Kind of true. I mean...
that isn't just a big stuff deck?
Yeah. Yuriko does care about ninjas, but it's also ninjas and big things.
Yeah, it's got ninjas like that 1 mana changeling that can't block or be blocked,
and then the 1 mana other changeling that can be blocked. Yeah, and then a couple 1 mana flying ninjas or something, or just 1 mana flyer non ninjas, just so you can get your Yuriko in play.
Yeah, you got all your 1 mana creatures with evasion that are honorary ninjas because they're sneaky, and then you just turn those into the ninja Yuriko.
Yeah,
so, ninja. And then you play Conspiracy to make all your Eldrazi's ninjas, or your Arcane Adaptation.
Yeah.
Or the Artifact that does that now.
Yeah, true, the new one. So make, it's kind of funny that they did it twice. So they made a ninja commanders that don't care about ninja at all. Well, not at all, but you know what I mean. Both the two ninja commanders just want you to put Eldrazi into play. Or in your hand. Why is that? I don't think it's fun game design to have a 3 mana 2/4 that when you attack with it and it goes unblocked on turn 2 or 3, puts an Eldrazi into play and draws you the best card of your top 3 cards at the same time. I don't think that's good design.
I don't play a lot of Dimir. We'll still have to do our tier list and see how this shakes out. But
Ooh,
I was thinking the Dies to Removal episode, is Commander better or worse than it was 5 years ago? Do you think if you had told me, like if somebody told you 5 years ago that Dimir was like the big stuff creature like color?
Oh, that's funny actually, because with the new
we got the ninjas, and we also have Runo Stromkirk,
which also is like a big stuff Leviathan thing. That's kind of funny that it it kind of is like you could. I don't know if it's like if it's the same, but like you have like the Scarab God, which is like reanimate stuff from the graveyard, which could be big stuff. I wouldn't have believed you if you told me that 5 years ago. Yeah, that's funny.
What a world!
What a world. But yeah, what do you want to talk about now, Eli? We got through most of our notes. Is there anything you want to bring up?
Man, being nice is exhausting.
It's pretty tough.
But I hope we did a good job. And I hope some positivity was
gleaned.
Was welcome.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't lose subscribers for breaking the...
For posting cringe. You're about to lose subscriber. Yeah. So, thanks guys for listening. We'll be back to our mean selves next week, or next 2 weeks.
It's kind of a short episode, but we wanted to experiment with that a little bit, doing shorter episodes sometimes. We just had a long-ass episode. Those get kind of exhausting too, like 2 hour long episodes.
Oh, and if you haven't seen the video essay that we put out at the start of the year, go check that out, The Tragedy of Arnie.
Please watch that. I think it turned out really well. Leave some comments, disagree or agree with whatever we said. And you can follow us at EDHTakes. You can tweet memes at us or whatever.
And I hope that, like we said at the beginning of the episode, I hope that we are somebody's lol cow. That is, I hope that we are somebody's... I hope there are people in this world that watch our podcast and our content just to kind of laugh at us with their couple friends. And if we are, if you told me, I'd be happy.
That's great, yeah. I mean, we definitely have people who we've met, like we become aware of, and we started the relationship with, they're kind of a lol cow, and now it's built into a bit of, sometimes they're pretty respectable.
Yeah, it's kind of you start out like kind of being like laughing at somebody, but then you grow to, they grow to be endearing to you, honestly.
I'm of the opinion that somebody is not truly cringe if they're at least genuine and they're representing their genuine opinions. I think, to me, what's true cringe is when you're being cringy, but you're doing it for a reason, being that like you want to become more famous or you're trying to appeal to somebody. Just be your genuine self, and I won't think you're that cringe.
Yeah, of course not.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and it is a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And we're back on the tradition of getting our episodes out a little bit late, but...
Poggers.
We'll be back sooner with the next one. Thank you for listening.